make sure nobody's from our rival city, Tacoma, Washington. 30 miles to the south. We hate them so much. 1873, Tacoma gets railroad terminus. Seattle does not. Because we didn't get railroad, they said, we'll be a ghost town in no time. No one's going to go to your town. Good night. Then they got extra mean. They put a map to the Pacific Northwest, and they said they accidentally forgot to include Seattle on the map. So we accidentally hold a grudge. In case you're hiding in the crowd, say Tacoma, which it sounds like you might be. Have no fear, reform through, I'll make more fun of this city than any other city on the planet, I promise. For 12,000 years, roughly. Several different Native American tribes are in the area. After a while, two in particular, they call this spot their home, the Suquamish and the Duwamish. Eventually, there's a common chief between the two tribes. His name was Seattle. It's an anglicized version of his name, but that's how the city got named. By the early 1800s, fur trappers are here for the first time in droves. The French are here, the Americans, English are coming down from the north. Everybody's looking for beaver pelts in the area. The pelts were big, big money. So everybody's fighting for control over the land. In 1850, the Americans passed the Land Donation Act. Here's what it said. If you're a single able-bodied male American, settle down here, the U.S. government will give you 320 acres of land for free. Yeah. Even though it wasn't theirs to give. They said if you're married, we'll double that to $640. Ladies, how much would you get on your own?
0.
Yeah, you got nothing. They just gave you a bucket to collect your tears. So mean back then, probably a small bucket too.
You probably had to pay for the bucket.
Yeah, you had to pay for it. It had holes in it too. Eventually, it was the Friendly Americans. They pushed English to the north. This became Washington State, USA. Good thing. Otherwise, this would be kind of today.
I don't understand jokes. You know this.
Which means I would be Canadian, eh? And that means I would be polite. Maybe bilingual. I'd have health care. It'd be terrible. Nobody wants health care. I hate health care. You guys in the nosebleeds, can you see this guy over here? I'll tell you right here. First American to seize a new land deal. Arthur Denny was his name. How many have been to the Space Needle? Anybody? Okay. Big thoroughfare next to the needle called Denny Way. He came from a small town in the West. Cherry Grove, Illinois. He packed up his family, a few friends. They headed west on the Oregon Trail. Thank you, one person, for kind of chuckling. I appreciate that. Means a lot to me. Got here in November 1851. He writes in his journal, we have record of this is true. He writes, we'll start building when it stops raining. He's still waiting that.
Yeah.
Eventually he decides on this spot we call Pioneer Square today. But when he first got here, this was a beach for 115 acres of mud flat. He finds an island sticking out of the mud, 3 blocks to the south. He measured it and he said, this is not 640 acres, but it's good enough. It's high and dry, nobody's living here. This is where I'm gonna build a city. Unfortunately for Denny, he measured the island at low tide. He's from a small town in the Midwest. Doesn't know anything about tidal activity. A few hours pass, 1/3 of the island's covered in water. He decides to stay there and build Seattle anyway. This is the birth of something we've come to call over the years the true Seattle spirit, which means if you have a terrible idea, you just stick with it. That's going to explain every story I tell you guys today. So he doesn't know what he's doing. But thank you for us, this guy does. He shows up second, he saves the day. David Swinson Maynard, medical doctor in Ohio. So everybody here calls him Doc or Doc Maynard. Shortly after he arrives, he starts to sell sections of his land, claimed dirt cheap, to attract other business owners into town. He said, if you have a business, that's good enough. I'll give you a portion of my land to work on. We have 90 days to turn it around. 90.
Jeez.
If you're not good at that, I'll kick you off, I'll give it to somebody else. So he knows how to raise up a city. He's responsible for our first black city, our first hospital, our first house of negotiable affections. Those who are laughing, explain it to those who are not.
No.
Duplicates. Number 4. Saw. That's who's the last guy before we get out of here. Henry Yesler. Anybody see Yesler Way? Yeah. We'll go over in just a second. One day, Yesler and Doc happened to be at the same bar. They're both hammered. This drunkard starts to brag. He said, I got plans and equipment for the first steam-powered sawmill in this entire region. I'm looking for a place to build it. If you're lucky enough to get my mill, you can process lumber 3 times as fast. It's steam-powered. So Doc overhears this. He purchases Henry a few more drinks. Then he makes an offer he can't refuse. He said, Henry, bring the mill to my town. I'll give you my waterfront property, and I'll give it to you for free. So he took the bait. He moved in across the street where the toy shop is on the corner. Anybody see the toy shop? Yeah, all right, I'll walk you by, I'll point it out. That's where the mill used to be. Only drawback to having the mill was the fact that Yesler had to come with it. This guy was a scoundrel. The devil incarnate. He'll do anything for money. No morals, no loyalty. He's a backstabber, a double dealer, a crook, a con man. What do you do with a guy like that? Anybody?
Put him in jail.
If you can't put him in jail, if you can't kill him, and if you can't send him to Tacoma,
You make him the mayor.
You make him the mayor. That's right. We elected him right away. He does some terrible things in his first term as mayor. Terrible. And that's why Seattle only re-elected him 2 more times.
Yep. That's kind of how we work around here.
So he's a bad guy. But remember, he brings with him the mill. That means Seattle was a booming logging town. So things were going good over there. But there was still one big problem they couldn't overcome. And it was a doozy. The drainage issue. This was a beach in the beginning. They're building a city on a mudflat where it rains almost daily. It's a terrible idea. Their solution for 30 years, they would go to the mill, grab sawdust, and they would pack it into the wet streets to absorb them. Now, the new sawdust on the top absorbs some of the water, but the old stuff underneath, after a while, it starts to decompose. It's organic. It mixes with the rainwater. And now you have a much worse situation than before. Yeah, your kids are like this. A visiting journalist said they don't have streets in Seattle, they have intersecting rivers of oatmeal. That sounds delicious. So that means horses would come into town, and the horses would sink into the streets. Wagons would sink, people would sink. They'd rip them out. Gigantic holes would remain. They'd fill in with rainwater, tide water, and then we basically have fetid swimming pools in the streets. Quite the drainage problem. And if that's not draining out of town, what else do you think ain't draining? Anybody brave enough to guess in this ultra quiet group?
Poop.
Yeah, poop. I was going to say sewage, but poop sounds classy. Poop disposal was really Seattle's #1 problem. It was also our #2 problem.
Yep.
You guys better laugh at that. It's nothing but poo jokes. From here on out. If you like all the non-laughers, this is going to be a rough ride for you. Someone tells me this might be a rough ride for me too. In the beginning, they're using outhouses. That means you dig a pit, put a shack on top, do your business inside. That works okay if you live on top of the cliff. It doesn't work at all if you live down here on the beach.
Yeah.
Twice a day, the tide would come in.
Mm-hmm.
It would lift the contents of the outhouses up and out into the streets and sidewalks of this city. Now the oatmeal had raisins in it.
That's a sticky situation.
Raw sewage everywhere. They lived like that for years until one day when they heard about a newfangled invention from across the pond. Chelsea, England, a man held 9 patents for the improvement of a modern flush toilet. Doesn't invent the toilet, he just makes it better. Toilet's a French word. Sometimes the English don't get along with the French. So he said, we ain't calling it that, we'll name it after me. I improved it. What's his name?
Toilet.
Close enough, it was Crapper. There was a man named Crapper, that's true. Your ticket just paid for itself. What's Crapper's first name? Anybody know?
John.
In a perfect world, it would be John P. Crapper. But this ain't a perfect world, it was Thomas. Seattle orders 1,000 Thomas Crapper devices from England. They wait 10 years. Had to go around by boat, took forever. But eventually, on a hot summer day, 1881, an entire shipload of crappers. Whole big boatload of crappers pulls up in the bay. Everybody's excited. They run down, grab a box of crappers inside, tear it open. Hole on the top makes sense. It's for making deposits. What's that? Yeah, but there's a second hole out the back. What's this?
There's no pipes.
Yeah, you're good. They read the instructions. Instructions read, attach crapper to city sewer system. They look in the box for a city sewer system. Batteries not included. So they go to the mill, grab boards from this guy, and they could put together a 6-inch by 6-inch wooden box sewer pipe. One wooden box for 1,000 crappers to attach into. Yeah. And it worked on gravity. So that means it gets worse. One end of this box, to the east on top of the cliff. Has everybody seen the streets outside to the east? Yeah. So it's an 18% grade today. It's about like that. It's pretty steep. Used to be a 49% grade. That means, man, that's exciting. That means sewage would come screaming down the hill inside the pipe. Momentum would take it across the neighborhood. When it got to the end, it would plop into the bay, where the tide and the currents would take it 30 miles south to
Tacoma.
Tacoma, that's right. It was the perfect system. A sewage miracle. For only a few hours, then Tacoma will get the revenge because tides come back. Sometimes they will come back so high, so strong, it will cover up the only output to the entire system, making it a new input. So now you have raw sewage and salt water backing in the wrong direction of the pipe. To the east, on top of the cliff, you still have roughage-eating pioneers, lots of fiber. So they were inputting day and night. You can't stop that. Can you guys not see I'm fake pooing right now? It's right. Pressurized or whatever. These two forces would meet in this neighborhood. Pressure would build inside the pipe. And if you were unfortunate enough to be on your crapper. She's fact-checking me on the phone, make sure I'm telling the truth. That's good, keep me honest.
Nope, still on Facebook.
This neighborhood high tide reached up to pull the chain to flush. You were blasted off the ball. They call it the Tacoma bidet. It was like Bellagio or Brown. It was the world's first Frappuccino geyser. I'll keep doing this so you guys laugh about it. I'm just kidding. People down here, they said, we saw
Right, my
guys
eyebrow.
across sewage salt heights of up to 6 feet. They tried to put down the lid, that didn't work. They didn't know what to do, so they lived like that. With exploding crackers in this town for 8 years.
Oh, fun.
It's not until one glorious day early Seattle history they fixed all their problems in one day, June 6, 1889. That's when the town caught fire and burned to the ground. It was an accident. But Seattle said, yes. Now we can rebuild and fix our problems. That's what they did. And that's because the tunnels were about to explore. The rat-infested tunnels were about
fun.
to explore.
I didn't realize I needed a cat.
Before we get out of here, a few important things. Watch out for anything painted yellow, it means danger. So it could be a lip on the ground, it could be a low-hanging ceiling. Watch out for that stuff. We're going to go past a couple crackers on the way out. They're off limits. It's high tide. If you stop to go now, you're going to get blown off. Don't do it. If you're from Tacoma, you can do it. If you're not. If you got here late, make sure your phones are on silent. Make sure they don't go off. It'll wreck the storytelling if they do. And if you can wait in your seats, I'm going to put down the mic. I'll cut through the crowd. When I get by everybody, you can all get up and in a single file line fill me out the back. That'll help everybody out. All right, thanks for listening. Let's have some fun. Thanks, everybody.